The world dissolved around him, as if reality itself was being pulled away like a curtain. One minute, Nobita was failing another test, the red marks on his paper glaring back at him. The next, he was surrounded by thick, damp air, the scent of earth and foliage overwhelming his senses. Giant trees blotted out the sun, their towering forms creating a canopy that turned day into night. Vines snagged at his clothes, pulling him deeper into the emerald abyss. Panic seized him, his heart pounding in his chest.
Where was he? How did he get here? His mind raced with questions, each one more frantic than the last.
Then he saw him, Doraemon. The sight of his friend should have brought relief. His robotic, cat-like grin should have been reassuring, but something felt off. The grin was too wide, too forced. His eyes glowed with an eerie light reflecting the jungle's menacing green. It was as if the jungle itself was alive within him. In his paw, Doraemon clutched a familiar device, the Anywhere door. A gateway to safety, or so Nobita thought. But this one was different. It pulsed with a malevolent red energy, casting an ominous glow on the surrounding foliage.
Doraemon, where are we? Nobita's voice trembled, echoing through the oppressive silence.
Nobita cried, his voice swallowed by the jungle's oppressive silence. It was as if the forest itself was absorbing his fear. Doraemon's grin widened, revealing sharp metallic teeth. This was not the friend Nobita knew.
This, Nobita, is where your adventure begins. The voice was cold, devoid of the warmth Nobita was used to.
A shiver ran down Nobita's spine. He felt a chill that had nothing to do with the damp air. This was not the Doraemon he knew. Something was terribly wrong. The jungle seemed to close in on him, a living entity with a will of its own. The jungle pressed in, a suffocating blanket of green and shadow. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig felt like a threat. Sounds, chirps, growls, hisses filled the air, each one a threat. The jungle was alive with unseen dangers. He was trapped with a Doraemon who seemed more monster than machine. Nobita's heart raced as he realized the gravity of his situation. Doraemon's eyes bore into him, glowing with an intensity that sent shivers down his spine. This was a nightmare he couldn't wake up from. Nobita looked around frantically, searching for an escape, but the jungle seemed endless, a labyrinth of green and shadow. The Anywhere door pulsed ominously, its red glow casting eerie shadows. It was a beacon of hope turned into a symbol of dread. With a deep breath, Nobita took a hesitant step towards the door. He had no choice but to trust it, despite the fear gnawing at his insides. The jungle seemed to close in behind him, the dense foliage trapping him in this nightmarish world. There was no turning back now. His hand trembled as he reached out to touch the door. The red energy felt warm, almost alive, as it pulsed beneath his fingers. Determination flickered in Nobita's eyes. He had to find a way out, to escape this twisted version of reality. The adventure had just begun. Doraemon led the way, his every step eerily silent. The dense foliage seemed to part for him, as if the jungle itself feared his presence. Nobita followed closely, his heart pounding in his chest, each step echoing in the oppressive silence. The jungle floor teemed with strange plants and fungi, their colors unsettlingly vibrant. It was as if the very ground was alive, pulsating with an otherworldly energy. Nobita couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, the plants seeming to turn towards them as they passed. One plant with luminescent purple flowers caught Nobita's eye. Its glow was hypnotic, drawing him in like a moth to a flame. He felt an inexplicable urge to reach out and touch it, to feel its strange, otherworldly texture.
Don't touch anything. Doraemon's voice cut through the silence, a stern warning that sent a shiver down Nobita's spine.
Doraemon warned, his voice a low growl. The seriousness in his tone was unmistakable, and for a moment Nobita hesitated. But it was too late. Nobita had already reached out, mesmerized by the flower's eerie glow. His fingers inched closer, almost as if they had a mind of their own, driven by an unseen force. As his fingers brushed the petals, a sharp pain shot up his arm. It was as if the plant had come alive, its venomous thorns piercing his skin with a malevolent intent. He cried out, yanking his hand back. The pain was excruciating, unlike anything he had ever felt before. It was as if his very blood was on fire. 3 thin scratches oozing a black fluid marked his skin. The sight of the dark liquid sent a wave of panic through him, his mind racing with thoughts of poison and death.
What was that? Nobita's voice trembled, his eyes wide with fear and confusion.
Nobita gasped, fear constricting his chest. The realization of what he had done hit him like a tidal wave, his breath coming in short, panicked bursts. Doraemon chuckled, a chilling sound. It was a laugh devoid of any warmth or comfort, a sound that sent chills down Nobita's spine.
Just a little reminder. Doraemon's voice was cold, almost mocking. It was clear that he took a twisted pleasure in Nobita's suffering. This, my dear Nobita, is the venom bloom. Its beauty is a deadly trap, luring in the unsuspecting with its enchanting glow. One touch, and you'll be begging for death. Doraemon's words were like a death sentence, the gravity of the situation sinking in.
Terror flooded Nobita. His mind raced with thoughts of escape. But the jungle seemed to close in around him, a living, breathing entity intent on his demise. He stumbled back, his eyes wide with horror. The once vibrant jungle now seemed like a nightmarish labyrinth, each step a potential death trap. The jungle, once a mysterious wonderland, was now a death trap. Every shadow seemed to hide a new danger, every sound a potential threat. And Doraemon, he was no longer a friend, but a warden holding the keys to Nobita's demise. The realization hit Nobita hard, the betrayal cutting deeper than any thorn. The air grew heavy, thick with the smell of decay and something ancient. It was as if the very essence of the jungle was whispering secrets of a bygone era, secrets that were never meant to be uncovered. Trees gave way to crumbling stone, remnants of a civilization lost to time. The ruins stood as silent sentinels, guarding the mysteries of a forgotten world, their stories etched in the weathered stone. Vines choked weathered statues, their faces frozen in silent screams. Each statue seemed to tell a tale of agony and despair, their expressions a testament to the sacrifices made in this forsaken place. Nobita shivered, a sense of dread settling over him. The oppressive atmosphere weighed heavily on his young shoulders, making every breath a struggle.
What is this place? His voice was barely a whisper, the fear evident in his tone.
He whispered, his voice trembling. The jungle seemed to respond with a chorus of rustling leaves and distant eerie sounds.
A place of sacrifice. Doraemon's voice was calm, almost detached, as if he had seen such horrors before.
Doraemon replied, his eyes gleaming with an unnatural light. It was a look that sent chills down Nobita's spine, a look that hinted at knowledge far beyond his years. He held up a small golden disc. The intricate designs on its surface seemed to pulse with a life of their own.
This Time Weaver allows us to glimpse the past. Doraemon's words were filled with a sense of purpose, as if this device was the key to unlocking the jungle's darkest secrets.
The disc pulsed with energy, and the jungle around them shimmered. It was as if the very fabric of time was being manipulated, revealing glimpses of a world long gone. Images flickered, robed figures chanting, a young woman dragged towards a stone altar. The scene was haunting, a ritual of sacrifice that had been repeated countless times. Then, darkness. The Time Weaver clattered to the ground, its glow extinguished. The sudden silence was deafening, a stark contrast to the chaos that had just unfolded. Nobita stared at the altar, his blood running cold. The weight of the jungle's history pressed down on him, making him feel small and insignificant. He could almost hear the screams of the sacrificed, feel the weight of their terror. The jungle seemed to come alive with their anguish, a haunting reminder of the past. This jungle held secrets, dark and terrible secrets. Each shadow seemed to hide a story, each rustle of leaves a whisper of the past, and Doraemon, with his sinister gadgets, seemed determined to unlock them all. His determination was both reassuring and terrifying, a promise that the jungle's mysteries would not remain hidden for long. A high-pitched whine cut through the jungle's symphony of sounds. Nobita swatted at the air, an instinctive reaction to the incessant buzzing. A dark cloud materialized above them, growing rapidly. Mosquitoes, thousands of them, descended upon them with a vengeance.
Doraemon, do something!
But Nobita, I already have, Nobita cried, waving his arms frantically. Doraemon chuckled, a low, menacing sound.
He held up a small silver whistle, its surface engraved with strange symbols.
The mosquitoes called.
He gave a sharp blow, and the air vibrated with an unnatural hum. The mosquitoes, their buzzing reaching a fever pitch, swarmed towards Nobita. He screamed, swatting at the biting insects, but they were relentless. Their stings burned like fire, each one injecting a paralyzing venom. Nobita collapsed, his body numb, his vision blurring. Through the haze of pain, he saw Doraemon watching him. His grin was wide, his eyes cold and calculating. The message was clear. This was no accident.